Most of our days are not spent in deep focus. Instead, we spend time looking for information, taking notes, reviewing meetings, trying to remember something that happened days ago. AI is supposed to help, and it does, but most AI tools are focused on one thing at a time or a few things, and we end up needing to subscribe to a whole suite of tools. And that gets pretty expensive. What we need is an AI tool that works in all situations and allows you to layer on different customizations so you can automate your workflows and solve your particular needs. Hi, my name is Callum, also known as Wanderloots, and welcome to today's video on Abacus AI Desktop, the all-in-one desktop AI. Abacus AI Desktop brings all of the best parts of the web app to your computer with 4 key components: the listener, a real-time assistant that watches your screen, listens to meetings, lectures, and videos, and understands the full context; chat, a conversational layer for brainstorming, asking questions, and processing information; the code editor, an AI agent built in for visual coding workflows; and the CLI, a terminal native coding agent for developers, or anyone who's looking to customize their apps a little bit more. In today's video, I walk through how to install the desktop app, including the listener companion and how all of the pieces fit together. Then, I give a demonstration of the listener app generating a transcript before using the AI coding features to create an automation to convert the transcript into my own notes in Obsidian. Finally, I walk through how to build a custom dashboard desktop application that reads my transcript files and creates analytics on top of them, helping me visualize my tasks, meetings, and the key insights generated. Along the way, I also share tips and tricks to help you conserve credits so you can get the most out of this suite of tools. My goal for today is not just to show you the independent features, but show you how they can tie together in different workflows and customize app building that help you solve your own problems. If you find this video helpful, please like, hype, and subscribe, as your support enables me to continue making these videos, so I appreciate it very much. If you do want to try Abacus AI Desktop, I have a link in the description and the pinned comment, and if you use that link, it helps me out a lot, so I appreciate it. Now, let's dive into Abacus AI Desktop. So I thought it'd be helpful to give a quick overview of Abacus AI Desktop, to specifically show you all of the core features, the fact that it's an AI coder and a desktop assistant, and then we'll dive right into getting it set up and testing it out with a few practical use cases. So as part of Abacus AI Desktop, you get a live meeting assistant, agentic browsing, a coding agent and CLI agent, and an AI code editor. So I'll show you all of those in a moment. And the cool part is that all of this is included under the same subscription as the Abacus AI DeepAgent and ChatLLM. So ChatLLM is a cool feature because it has a router built into it that will automatically go through and select the best model for your particular use case, for your particular question. And the DeepAgent is a very powerful tool that lets you do a ton of different things. There's a whole list of use cases here. You can use it for AI workflows, for browser, to create apps, PowerPoints. There's a lot you can do here. Honestly, I was very impressed with its ability to build a full stack application. So if you're interested in going deeper into ChatLLM or DeepAgent, I do have 2 videos already on this Abacus AI series. So I have what is ChatLLM and what is DeepAgent. In this one, I walk through everything there is to know about ChatLLM. And in this one, I go through not only what you can do with DeepAgent, but also a full app building example. So I recommend checking them out if you want to go deeper into it, because today we're going to focus on the desktop feature. But I do think it's great that you get access to all of this all in one subscription. And one thing I do want to mention very quickly, because this is very important to me, is that you do have full control over your data. So they don't use your data for training their LLM or other LLMs, and you can always control your chat history and delete conversations if you need to. If you're interested in learning more about how this all works, you can check out their FAQ, where it goes more in depth on the specific types of encryption and generally how the different pieces fit together. There's also a full documentation on how you can do everything you need to know to get the most out of your Abacus AI Desktop. I'll explain how the pricing and the credits work briefly at the end and give you some tips on how to conserve your credits throughout the tutorial today. Now, with all that being said, let's get started. So if you already have a ChatLLM account, you can download the Abacus AI Desktop in the bottom left corner here. You can download this for Mac, Linux, PC, or you can also download it from the desktop homepage where it pops up and gives you the same options. So I'm going to click download, and there we go. It's been installed. So the first thing we need to do is give admin privileges to install the shell command. So this just will help with allowing the agentic control of your computer. And then the next thing we need to do is sign in with your Abacus AI account. It will take you to your application, click open. And just to let you know, if you don't already have a subscription, if you use my link, that helps me a lot, so I appreciate it. The link is in the top comment and in the description, so thank you. So right away, we get the option here to choose our theme. I'm, of course, going to pick the dark theme. And then we get to select our default mode. So if you are a non-coder, you can choose chat mode. This brings in more of your standard AI chat interface where you're able to talk with the latest models like GPT-5, Sonnet 4.5, Generally just a bit easier if you're not familiar with coding. And then we have the code mode, which is where you can actually run the Abacus AI CLI, which is the command line interface, kind of like your terminal, like this thing right here, if we want to run actual code on our computer. So this is a little bit more of an advanced mode. You can use the browser agent, and you can generally just do a lot more with coding. So I'm going to show you the chat mode to start, the non-coder version, and then I'll get deeper into the code mode as I walk through some examples. And again, if you're not logged in, you can click log in via browser direct, and that will take you to a browser where you can sign in. So it just takes a second. So this is our home page with the chat mode. We can see up on the top here, and we can always easily toggle on the code mode if we want to up in the top corner. On the left-hand side, we have our conversation history. So this is actually bringing in all of my conversations that I've already had with ChatLLM in the past that I made in other tutorials. So we can see our image generations, but if we click on something that involves a web-only mode, it will ask you to move to the web. So back on the home page here, we have 4 different options on how we want to use this tool. We can chat with it, like I'm showing you here. We can ask questions. It's a standard chat interface. We can use the desktop listener, which I'll show you in a moment. We can use the code editor or the CLI. So if we click on the code editor, again, it takes us back to this page here, the code mode in the top. And if we click on the CLI, it actually runs in the terminal. So you can see that here. And you can do that through the user interface within the desktop application, or you can install it directly with your terminal so that you can just go off of the command line itself. So I'll show you this in a little bit because that's a bit more advanced mode. And just back to the code mode for a moment, you can see on the side that I've got a lot of extensions already installed here. This is because this is a VS Code fork, so it's able to run all of my existing VS Code extensions, including things like Gemini Code Assist, Claude Code. I can connect to GitHub. There's a lot that you can do that is standard across your integrated development environment. So again, I'll get more into the coding side of things in a few minutes. So my thought is, why don't I come up with an example here that's going to show you how all of these different features tie together, how the desktop listener works, how we can use the output of the desktop listener to trigger automatic workflows and automations based on the CLI and the code editor. And then finally, I'm going to show you how we can create a little app that's going to tie it all together with a visualization of our meetings. So why don't we take a look at the desktop listener? So the desktop listener is actually a separate application. You can see on the bottom here, it is its own separate app. And this is because you can have it just running in the background whenever you want. So I'm going to sign in again here. And we need to first give some system permissions. We can choose if we only want to give microphone access, which is required for audio capture during meetings or watching videos or listening to podcasts, for example. And we can choose if we want to give screen capture functionality. So you can always revoke this in the future if you change your mind. But to show you how this all works, I'm going to grant access. So I actually tested this out a little while ago, and you can see that we have my session history here. It's kind of cool that it can sync across different devices. I did this on my laptop, and now I'm on my desktop. And in the top here, we can see that we have this option to toggle on listen. So if I turn that on, what it'll start doing is it will start transcribing like it did in my previous one. So this is a transcription of a video I was playing. And then on the side, I had a conversation about that video and what it could see on the screen. Once you're done, the session creates a summary, and then you have the option to export this if you want to. You can see this here, and that creates a PDF or a JSON file. And you can choose if you want to include the summary, the conversation, or the transcript. And up on the side here, we have our settings. You can control the theme, you can control the permissions, and if you want the app content to be captured in screenshots. So for example, because I'm showing you how this works, I'm going to keep this on so you can see the little bubble. Otherwise, it would be hidden when you're screen recording. So I could see it being helpful, for example, for watching videos, for being in meetings. And for example, if I turn on listen, it's going to pop up here. Okay, so it might be a little hard to see here, but basically you can see that it's recording everything that I'm saying at the moment. So that's in this little bubble on the side here. And we can also switch over to the insights section. And you can see here, it's giving me a summary basically saying, oh, because I struggled for a moment to get the audio going, the insight is related to how to get the microphone working. So we can see this transcript, and this would work if you're in a meeting, if you're watching a video, you're listening to a podcast, it would give you a live transcription the whole time. And what's cool is while this is happening, you can have a conversation with the listener about the transcript that you're seeing here and also what's on your screen. So I can, for example, ask, what are we talking about and looking at? So you can see here it's giving me a summary explaining, hey, we're testing and demonstrating the recording feature of the DeepAgent listener. It's able to see that my YouTube page is open, specifically related to Abacus AI, DeepAgent, NotebookLM, different AI tools. And that's pretty cool because you can imagine now, for example, if I'm watching a YouTube video or I'm watching a lecture or I'm in a meeting, I'd be able to be getting this live transcript this whole time and then chat with the live transcript based also on what's on my screen. So if someone's giving you a PowerPoint presentation, you could say, oh, I didn't quite understand this slide. Can you explain it to me again? And you'd be able to have this conversation and keep up with what you're looking at, whether it's that lecture, video, or in a meeting. So why don't I show you for a second in this video. Taking the time to build a centralized, structured book base in Obsidian with automated templates, views, and formula will speed up your note-taking and organization in Obsidian forever. So you can see there's now this designation of others because it's pulling in something that's not me talking versus you here. And it was able to go through and take the concept and transcribe the video, and I could ask what was happening. And it's giving me a summary on, here's a visualization of interconnected book ideas. The current visual focus is a video illustrating my note organization in Obsidian. So I hope that shows you how you could very easily be having a meeting and you'd be able to have a real live conversation with the AI. And just to prepare for the next example, I'm going to give some to-dos. Well, I would like to update this Obsidian book space to include some of the latest features in Obsidian. I'm working on a video series where I'm going to talk more about my book note-taking, so I want to integrate the book space with my new highlighting system that I've developed. I need to publish those videos. So you can see on the side here, I can ask what are the to-dos from this transcript, and it's going to go through and identify the specific things that I just said here. And then now I'm going to click done. You can see that we have the option here. It's got the full transcript, and it's got the conversation that I had on the side, and it now has this summary of the most important pieces of information throughout this session. So now I can go back to my session details, and you can see it was right away saved here. I can always click back in. I can click export. I can download it as a JSON file, as a PDF. I can choose if I want the transcriptions, whatever I want to include. The full transcript, the summary, the key topics discussed, everything that I just showed you here. So that's pretty cool. I can see this being very valuable. Okay, so now that we have our transcript, we can go over to the Abacus AI settings here by clicking into code mode. And you'll see here that there's a few different options on the side for changing the settings. So I recommend scrolling through these because you can control exactly what you want in terms of deleting files, removing files, updating and auto-running MCP tools, model context protocol, which is effectively a universal language for different AI agents to communicate and pass data to one another. You can add in your Anthropic API key or your Google API key if you want to, which lets you use those existing API keys in Abacus AI Desktop. You have the option to set up some MCP servers, and we get to this rules section, which is what I wanted to show you today. Basically, you can think of it as templates. They're reusable templates that you want the agent to run the same way every single time. I use Chrome. I do this. I do that. I use dark theme for any new applications. You can start to template your style and how you want to run. So every time you add something new, you don't have to go through and explain what you like from scratch again. It will just check the rules and it'll default to what you've already established. And the goal with rules is you want to be specific about which applications you want to use. For example, I could tell it, oh, when you're doing this, I want you to open Outlook, or I want you to open Gmail, or I want you to open Obsidian. They're basically just little automation workflows. So here's an example rule that they give you on automating desktop workflows. Every time you want a new development task, open VS Code, create the relevant file, run the necessary setup commands, start the development server, open the browser. So what I thought would be cool is imagine every time I get one of these PDF files summarizing all of this. I don't necessarily need all of this info. What I need is probably a very quick, short note on the key points of this document, even though we have the summary here, something shorter, and then a link to this file. So what we can do is we could create a new rule that automatically takes any file that's added to the transcripts folder and creates a markdown file for it so that we can open it in Obsidian, or for example, email it to ourselves if we connect the MCP to Gmail. So we can have it where when the meeting summary is done, it automatically gets condensed into a shorter form and then gets emailed or gets created as a note in your note-taking system. So why don't we try creating this? I just asked it, is the chat able to operate and create a rule itself? And it cannot. This is just a chat. It can provide you with the code, but it can't implement the code itself. So that's the difference between agent mode and chat mode. That question used up 14 credits. So I'll explain more about credits at the end, but that's a very small amount of credits. In the bottom, we have the option to change the model here. So we can see that we have all of the state-of-the-art models here: Sonnet 4.5 Thinking, Sonnet 4.5, GPT-5 Codex, DeepAgent, which is the Abacus one. There's a lot here, but some of them don't have stars beside them, like this Gwen 3 coder. And you can see here how little credits were used in comparison to the Sonnet 4.5. So this is where, depending on your task, you can control the type of credit usage you want to use. You can use a model that is open source, for example, like the Qwen 3 Coder, Kimi K2. You can pick and choose which model is going to make the most sense for your particular task. But now let's go over to the DeepAgent for a second. So my thought is, what if we use a file watcher that will detect if there's a new file added to the transcripts folder. It can create a markdown file in a designated folder so that it is available in Obsidian, add the proper tags, topics, and title, summarize the transcript, and then extract any to-dos. So you can see that Sonnet just went through and created the code that would enable this to happen. But to actually have the rule trigger, we need to create the ability for the watcher to run. First, we need to outline the steps we want to happen in the rule, and then I'll give the rule to the CLI agent to show you how it can read the rule and make it into a reality. I'm just going to put file watcher for now, and then we'll see if the CLI can turn it into working code. The goal is that in the future, I can just say something like start watcher or watch transcripts, and the rule will tell this agent and future agents exactly what that means and how it can operate. You can use rules for all kinds of things, and one of them is simplifying getting your code started so that your app is ready for you. Let's go over to the CLI and get it set up. Just a quick reminder to please like and subscribe if you're finding this video helpful, as I appreciate it a lot. If you're looking for more ways to support me, consider joining my membership, as my members enable me to continue making these videos, so thank you very much. Also, please let me know in the comments if you have any questions on what I'm talking about today, or if you have ideas that you would like to see in future videos. I go through all the comments and analyze the feedback, and then incorporate the feedback into my videos so I can hopefully help you as much as possible. Now let's continue with customizing our personal app. So for example, I just said, can you run the rule? And right away, it can go and check to see, oh, hey, let me take a look at the rule and see what it says. I'll help you set up a file watcher for the transcripts folder. It could look at the rule and understand what's needed to build the code that enables that rule to run. So basically, the file watcher will go through and check anytime there's a change made to that folder. It'll automatically implement the transcript to markdown converter, add the tags, the summary, the to-do, and then it'll test the file watcher with a simple transcript. So again, you can do this either through the CLI or you can do this through the code mode, but I'm just going to show you the CLI for a moment. So I just click yes, and let's see what happens. So you can see it's going through right now, and in real time, it already completed the full system that I just established, which is the markdown converter. So now it's going to run the script to install npm, which is the node package, and all I've had to do so far is just click the Y button. So it created a sample script, and now I'm going to click run. So then if we go take a look at the code for a second, we can see that we now have this transcripts folder, which it just created with this sample transcript with all this information, the session data, which used the example that I had already included in that transcripts folder. And then if we go take a look at the markdown folder, you can see that it converted it into markdown from the JSON. So my next step would be to add some kind of conversion where the AI, the LLM, is summarizing the summary so I get just a small file. But for example, if I click into my Obsidian vault, I could just drag that file in. You can see that it's already pre-organized the title, the date, the tags, the topics that were talked about, and then it went through and turned everything into an action list for myself, and then also included the entire transcript. So for example, now I could go back to the CLI, and you can see here that it says this sample transcript was successfully converted. The watcher is running in terminal 2. To use it, just drop your JSON transcript file into the folder, and it will be automatically created. So why don't we test this out? I'm going to grab my previous conversation that I had about NotebookLM. I'm going to export it as a JSON file, and I'm going to put this directly into the transcripts folder. If we go to the markdown session, we can see the watcher detected that the transcript was added to this folder, and it already converted it into the markdown format. So that's pretty cool. I could use the command line or the DeepAgent on the side here to write all the code to create this watcher that now every time I'm using the desktop listener and I click export and drop the transcript into that folder, it will automatically go through and create a markdown equivalent of it. And then I can add whatever features I want to. I could connect, like I mentioned, to the Gemini API and have Gemini go through and create a summary. Rather than just straight up converting this, I could format it in different ways. I can ask the CLI to add whatever feature I want to. And that was all done just based on a rule. So now that we've gone through and coded the file watcher system, we can include the startup instruction here that explains what's happening. So that now we can go over to the DeepAgent, for example, on the side here, and we could say, start the transcript watcher. And the agent should be able to go and read the rule and recognize this means npm run watch, which you can see here that it says yes. So we can click run, and it will go start that system for us. Great, the transcript watcher started in the background. So alternatively, I could just go into my own terminal and type npm run watch, and it would start that system right here as well. So you can use that to avoid paying credits, or you can build it all and you can get the agent to control it, or you could use a simpler agent that's going to use up less credits. So that's a very basic example. I just wanted to show you how these rules work. But now, why don't we take this one step further? Why don't we make something a little more complex that builds on top of this markdown converter? Like I showed you, we have the ability to see these in Obsidian here. It's converting this into a format, but it'd be nice to maybe build some kind of dashboard on top of the transcripts so that every time I use the Abacus AI listener, rather than just having a markdown file, maybe I can see a dashboard that could be related to my currently available tasks. So it could have a to-do list. It could have a list of the people that I've chatted with. It could have different things that analyze the data included in the transcripts to give me summaries on maybe what I talk about or what's due soon, or convert it into a calendar. So why don't we go into the DeepAgent mode and get it to build this dashboard for us. So here is my prompt that I'm going to give to the AI. I want to have a lightweight local desktop application that watches for any time there's a new markdown node here to display the total number of meetings, pending and completed action items, clickable to the original file, timelines, keywords, tag clouds, filtering by date range, project or participant, marking tasks as done, which updates the linked markdown file so I can keep track in either Obsidian or in my separate project management app that I'm going to build right here. So let's see how the DeepAgent does. So you can see here we have the option here for it to ask every time, or I can have it run automatically. So this is something that you just have to be careful of, because if you click run automatically, it might be making changes that could break your project. But since this is something simple that I'm just testing right now, I'm going to have it run automatically just to make sure it can go through. So it's going through and installing the packages it needs, and it's going to go and create all of this dashboard project like you can see it just did right here. Okay, so it just built up the environment, the directory, the markdown parser, all that stuff. And now it's going to go through and build the actual dashboard UI. Okay, so it looks like it's completed everything. That's taken about 10 minutes so far, which is pretty wild. I'm excited to see if it works. It's now creating a README file, which basically just means it's an instruction set to understand what went into building this app and how we can use it. So it's really important to ensure that when you're using AI tools like this, that you create documentation, because, for example, I'll be able to use the README and provide it as context to different agents in the future or different tools or other developers to continue building on top of this application. So it's completed its build. Now it's going through and checking for errors, which you can see all these red errors here, which you can click on the bottom and pull up. We've got all these different types of errors. So it's now going through and solving those problems on its own. So you can see here as the README comes up, just a quick note that, for example, we can see there's the modern UI, which is the part of the prompt I gave it. And this is where, as part of your rules, if you're developing something, I would be able to say always include a dark mode toggle when developing the UI. So you can control the way that the agent builds here by adding more rules with specific formats or development systems or whatever it is that you want to use for deployment or building. You can control all of that in the rules section, so that you can do it once and not have to do it again. The dry principle, don't repeat yourself. So that took about 25 minutes or so. So just in contrast here, previously when I made the DeepAgent video, that was building a website application, a web app. And this just built a local application. So it's one that actually runs, it's a dashboard for all of my meeting notes that will automatically detect if there's any new markdown files. So it will leverage that file watcher I had before, where if I drop a new file into my transcript folder, it'll be converted into Markdown, which is viewable in Obsidian, and then it will automatically extract any tasks and display all this information in the dashboard. So why don't we do that? Let's click run. And I want to just point out here that this did use up a significant amount of credits. This used up 2,554. Again, I'll get into the credits in a little bit, but this used up roughly 10% of the $20 plan of credits. But to be honest, you can see how much it just coded here, and it was able to do all of that with basically no input from me. Okay, so the app just launched here, but you can see there's nothing in it. So I just copied in the console log on the side and pasted it in so that DeepAgent had an idea on how to debug. This is one of the key elements of working with AI to solve problems, is that it's not going to work necessarily on the first go, but if you can go through and pinpoint the errors, hopefully it'll be able to fix it fairly easily. Okay, and there we go. It seems to have fixed everything. Let's take a look at what it built. So it built what it called a meeting intelligent dashboard. We have the option up on the side here to filter by date range. We can search by tags that were automatically extracted from the transcripts that I uploaded. You can see that there's 3 total meetings in there, and it created a bunch of action items that it scraped from the markdown notes. It also has the top topics, a topic cloud here. The more topics are included here, the larger the words. Meeting timeline, it's got the action items listed here, the key decisions. Okay, so now that we have the app working here, this is obviously a very basic version of it, but let's see what happens if I duplicate one of these notes. Call it copy JSON. You can see the markdown was immediately created here. You can see now that it has 4 meetings because I just duplicated it. So obviously I have a bit of work to do here, but the idea is that I can convert this into a calendar, I can have a to-do list, I can create my own personal dashboard where every time I use the listener and export the file into my transcripts folder, this app will run and I'll get my dashboard that updates. So I have my own personal application system here. So that's pretty cool. And altogether, I believe that took around 4,000 credits for me to create the system, run it, test it, debug it, and then test it again. I hope this shows you how you can use something simple like rules to understand the particular code launch language so that it can monitor this transcripts folder and do something simple like just have that file watcher and then convert it into a markdown file. Or we can go even more complex and use something like the DeepAgent to autonomously build that full dashboard application like I just showed you. And all of that was done with very little input from me. I can now go and chat using whichever model I want to on the side about this. I could add more features. And the cool part is that it's all running on the desktop. So it's completely private and secure. So honestly, I was pretty impressed with the system that just got built there. And if you're interested in the benchmarks, you can see that the DeepAgent desktop does outperform a lot of other systems. And honestly, that has been my experience. It was able to autonomously do a lot more than even, for example, Claude Code has been able to do. So I've been very impressed with DeepAgent. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's only $10 a month, but I do want to note that the basic tier is what gives you the $10 a month. And that gives you limited DeepAgent use, like that entire system that I just showed you with the DeepAgent to build that dashboard application. If you upgrade to the Pro tier, it's $20 a month and you get unlimited access to the DeepAgent within your credit limit, which I believe is 25,000 tokens. So you'd be able to build basically 5 applications like I just showed you right there per month. And if you're interested in signing up, I recommend please using my link as that helps me out a lot and I appreciate it. So thank you. I have honestly been really impressed with the DeepAgent by Abacus AI. So the fact that I can now use it on my desktop is great. I'm genuinely excited to keep working on that app that we built together today so I can improve my automations, my meetings, my transcripts, and generally just layer on more features that customize my app on my own computer. The fact that you get all of these different tools, the listener, the CLI, the chat, the code editor, and the ChatLLM and DeepAgent, really makes it a great tool that ties together a lot of the key elements that I've been looking for in AI. So I hope you find it as helpful as I do. If you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing as I really appreciate your support, so thank you. If you want to learn more about Abacus AI, I do have 2 more videos on ChatLLM and DeepAgent. So if you want to go deeper into those particular aspects that are all included in this Abacus AI bundle along with the desktop app, then I recommend checking them out. Also, if you want to learn more about how I use AI generally in my life, all the different tools, I recommend checking out my AI learning playlist as a lot of people have been finding it very helpful. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.